Good morning, everyone. So the news is out. Markets are come up off of the lows a little bit. Not a big deal. Let's check it out. So it's been a slow kind of a grinder up day to day. Dips getting bought. Well, there's hesitancy, whether what kind of news. But just looking back here a little bit, give or take, going back here to the end of July. The markets aren't too far from where they were. They're just down, up, higher low, moving real slow now, toward the advance. So I guess some hesitancy. I've probably seen some uh, adjustments in some of these institutions in their calls for the high of the year has moved up to 6,600. We'll see if that's in the cards. On a short-term basis, patterns like this, you've got these several days, which look great, great pattern, to have a wide range bar and a correction bar there near this resistance area. And then it pops up there yesterday, just an overall one that you want to have all the time and very reliable. Um, so now we start with an inside day and pulling back to support. Buyers should show up there. They are. We'll see if they can get back above, the opening price and the high. It's been kind of sloppy, kind of choppy advance from this major reversal that occurred down here. Big red bar and being ignored, and another correction bar on the weekly. So all of these things suggest higher, and that's all that we have to go on. And so, as you know, or don't, those are taking courses or been with us for a while. Um, First reference point of support is a prior day's low, which isn't significant, but it's something to look at, on it being objective. And so, after this little down bar and this wide range bar, right, there's been no close below a prior day's low. So if that was to happen today, it would be something to pay attention to. And how does it close? Right? Some bar like this is more meaningful, but right now it's just rather a boring, right, advance buy the dip and look for it to go back up until something changes. So the NASDAQ tech has been a little weaker, pull back to major support, little different kind of pattern with the wide range bar and the sideways in the correction bar and up, a little resistance there. So it's stalled. Let's see here. Yeah, so, come up to that resistance over there to the left, pulling back. This is where buyers are going to be, give or take. So, and we'll see what they do. Already stabilizing it there. Factory work. Look at the trend. Look to the left. Look at the patterns on support. So the Dow didn't have as good a day yesterday, but didn't break down sideways. You're going to get out of your own way here after new all-time highs. This is enough resting. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Russell was weaker yesterday, and then it started to come on strong at the latter part of the day. Um, and just backed off, not doing much of anything here, right? So that's kind of the theme here over the last this week is that you know things have inched up a little bit, but overall no really meaningful moves, but going higher. And so from here we'd have to start going in and looking at all the individual ETFs. We're not going to do that, but you get what I mean. We're just looking at the broader market indices and seeing what's participating, and mid caps are participating, but slow. So that looks like it'll continue to go higher. And, that's coming up to some resistance. You always got to look to the left. Some things are at all-time highs, other things are not. The There's the software one. Right? That was the one giving trouble, and here it's flipped up. It's come back strong. So it's up at resistance. What is it going to do? It's under the 50. Some sideways price action over the next day or two would be encouraging. And some bullish price action at resistance. We'll see if that happens. Here's another software. And so this one has some other stock in there, that's stocks that are doing better. It's cleared this and moving up. So there's another plus to help the markets. Consumer staples, no one wants that garbage. Other things are in favor. No one wants the things that you need. Yeah, we'll get to them eventually. Let's focus on that new Tesla or whatever else, which is Tesla's been shaping up, but consumer staples, nah, back down to major support. But don't forget this index, because as we come into September, we'll see if it's actually going to be the worst of the year. And if it does, some stabilization down here at major support, we need to look through this sector to find out what's showing relative strength, or maybe has been bottoming while this has come down, which will present us with opportunities within the sector. And so even though weak sectors that act like this when they're at major support, there's likely to be something down there that's viable or worthy of at least a put spread if you can get some kind of a bullish reversal. All right, Bitcoin, we know broke down, came up a little, kind of a sell setup there, and support's right there. Not anxious to do anything with this or the cousins or whatever they are that are related to these. And I'm not certain that this is ready to either drop and put alerts down here or back up above there and see what happens. Gold's been grinding its way back up to the top of the trading range. And so you can see it's been in this slop here for several months, moving up to the top of the range. You know what's going to be up there. They're called sellers. And so far, it's been marching its way up. And crude oil, still, down, little rejection, holds that area, pops up, pops down. Not so sure. Set an alert above the pivot, set an alert down below here. Just that little anticipation lifted some of the energy stocks very nicely, but they came up to the top of the range. So odds are that movement is complete for the moment. But again, bottom of the range actually closed above the top of the range, and it's got room to go up. So unless oil collapses, I suspect these stocks will continue to do well. All right, financials, and then we'll hand it over to Dan. Looks great, slow but steady. This was one of those ones. Is it going to be a head and shoulders top and drop, or can it get above the right shoulder? And it has. It made new highs. And so whenever you see a head and shoulders pattern, you always set an alert near the top of the right shoulder, because if it fails, there's a high probability that it'll continue to move up. All right. Semiconductors. This is one of the semiconductors. All right. New highs. And do I have SMH in here? I had to rebuild this page from yesterday. And so this one has stocks in there that have not advanced. So the top-down approach, what is that? Look at the broader markets. Look at the sectors. Look at the stocks within the sectors. So when we see one sector underperforming another sector, something in the other sector is outperforming. So if your platform like the other that we use, TC, you click on that, it fills in the stocks. You sort it by percentage gain or whatever you like, and you find out what's showing strength and what's showing weakness. Makes it pretty easy. All righty. So SPY, Where are you? On support. And give or take at yesterday's opening price, gapping down a bit. You've got minor support over there. You've got the current support, meaning this stuff right here, right? Minor support. You're going beyond what's directly to the left. It's less relevant, but in this case, it's in the same area. So we know very well if the spiders were to come all the way down here, the trend would still be up. But if it happened like with a big red bar, that wouldn't be good. And now this news is out. I don't think anybody cares about this. I don't think it's maybe just me, this Fed thing, this lawsuit. I don't know. But anyway, I was thinking what else is going to move the markets today as far as news goes. Any economic reports? There's 10 o'clock consumer sentiment and 9:45 Chicago PMI. Yeah, consumer expectations at 10 o'clock. So think about 10 o'clock. If you put on a position, maybe you want to be out of it by 10 o'clock, or maybe you don't. And the long weekend. I forgot about that, Alex. Thank you. Be some noise here today, I think. They're drilling a new line for put a fiber internet in. I would think the downside is safe. Bull market, people buying the dip, the upside, but of course we have to see which way it runs early on. All yours, Dan.
The IWM rallying here. Strongest of the four horsemen, 5 and 15. Happy Friday, 0 DTE day, last trading day of August, Labor Day weekend. I'm not expecting much today either. So yeah, I wrote down Greg's XSD right here, inverse head and shoulder. Let's scan that together. The components of them, of course. Mets. It's just bottom of the range, top of the range. It is working on a bull rectangle, but you remember my recipe, Thomas. I want things closer to support, which this is building support sideways, but I want it closer to the 20 and not so extended. So Expedia, I like a lot more. I had a down alarm go off, so I reset it at 214, but yeah, that one's on my list. CCJ. You don't have a good void, but it's also kind of a inverse head and shoulder with a smaller right shoulder. It's gapping up $2. That would be a good put spread. No, well, it is gapping a little bit over or to the top of this range. I'll put it on the list, but not in a rush. Other alarms, Amazon, gap down a little, but It's coming back. Wind alarm. Wow, this thing has been a fantastic trade. Um, so I'll tighten the stop here in the first 30 minutes. I already reset alarms. I think this is old XLF. Yeah, we're in this in the ETF. Looks great. COP is on my list. Going sideways here. Oil. What's the other oil I was looking at yesterday? I don't know. I have an alarm on it somewhere. Let's look at earnings. I deleted some already. Iran. Possible excessive gap for today's Friday, obviously. So if you're looking for zero DTE trades, the usual suspects, the earnings, news, and it's a bullish gap. But if it takes out a 30-minute low, my my go-to bias is zero DTE call spread. Marvel, I call this a very bearish gap, but a big one. So my bias would be 30-minute high put spread. Affirm. I did a couple earnings trades myself. Sam, I think you were talking about a short strangle on this, and I said no way. This is bullish daily, weekly, monthly. So I myself I did the 65 puts and speak. If today were not zero DTE, then I'd close it at a penny. I don't even feel like paying a penny. It's so far away from 65. I set an alarm at 85. And if it does hit 85, then I'll go ahead and close it at a penny. But that's how I manage big things like this. Bull, recent IPO trades weird, no pattern. Sears, that could be a call spread. That's a big percentage gap. Dell getting whacked. That's a nasty gap. Now it is a nasty gap, but unlike Marvel, I think this thing could fall more. So we just gotta sit back and see what this is gonna do. Wolf. Three, that's an igniting gap, but excessive, so we need to pull back. ESTC. I was hoping this was gonna gap up above 100, because then that would have been a great zero DTE 30-minute low, but I'll still, when we do fading things like that, the bigger the gap, the better. Yeah, CVX, that's the other oil I was talking about. I got an alarm up there, 159.80, I think, something like that. But I think USOs, I got a kind of bullish bias. Little downside shakeout, up, pullback, above yesterday's high, maybe to 78. The other ETFs have been rocking. Autodesk, I also did a put spread on this. I forget what strike I did. But it's far away. I did the 265s. So again, I set an alarm at 305 and I'll let it expire at full profit. I did one on that Sears also. Amba. This with a bullish pattern. I think I did one on this too. Let me look. Amba, even my positions. Yes, I did the 62s. Look, 62 puts. So another one. I'm going to let it expire full profit. So I got all four of the ones I did, which is rare that they're all getting massive gaps in my favor. You know, that's not normal. Now, Ulta is bullish, capping up 15 bucks. Let's watch on a pullback. If we get a nice pullback, then it could be a zero DTE or Baba. That's an igniting gap, but it's not something I'm interested. Gapping from the bottom of the range over 100%, but it's bullish gap, no question about it. So you can check Cousins, Baidu. Look at Baidu going up. We should be watching K-Web, 38 bucks. I don't like that unfilled gap, but you see, that's what we do. We look at Cousins on earnings also. Pro, top of the range doing nothing, but it is a bullish weekly. So I'll keep it on the list. Do igniting breakout, but gap's too big. That's, you know, it's a, kind of failed M top. We did an MT live a couple months ago on how to tell the difference between an M top. It's in Sam's ETF. It's a garbage sector, I think. Or maybe environmental waste. Yeah, I think it's environmental waste. Same with the cows, But this is a great example of that is not an M top. Not an M top that we would trade. Why? Well, many reasons. We got extra time here this morning. So this is an igniting bar. That's an igniting bar deep into that. 1, 2, 3. All four of these bars, a buy setup, closed in the upper 50% of that. Bullish weekly, 20 above the 50. See the difference? That's a great example of I have a bullish bias on this pattern. And it's, probably, but for the gap, I would have said half over yesterday's high and half over Wednesday's high. That's how I would have traded that. But cap's missing a little. USA and social media saying, do you trade futures? Greg does every day. I don't personally. I just trade the ETF. Is all, but there's other people in the room that trade futures in the trading room also. Okay, wrong post. Okay. And all right, that's it on earnings. So I have a couple that I'm looking to fade, 30-minute high low. A couple, if we get controlled pullbacks, we can trade with. Let's look at other stuff now. Soon I posted over yesterday's high. We finally got a closing breakout, or pretty darn close to it. That's strong pre-market. So that looks good. You know what? Because the market's weird, I'm going to change it just to a half lot. This is what I gave, and I just typed in Telegram, only do half, and then 30-minute high at SBET. This looks like a day trade short. This green bar was an attempt to turn. It failed. Closing breakdown, void, gap and down. So maybe 10-minute low. I'm going to set an alarm at 18. Or how about 17.98? I always like doing it under an even dollar. So that day trade short watch. Nope. Look at this thing's been on a wild ride this past week. Nothing to do right now. G Pro's on my list. I sold puts on this igniting bar, the 150s. Took my money the next day, and I'm watching this pullbacks. So I like that it's down a little more, because then the entry will be a buy setup. Etsy down a lot. So this is a fluid move down. Bottoming tail and support to 200. So that's on my list. I'm gonna set an alarm. 54:30. And I did check for a 0 DTE on that, but there's not enough juice. But depending on how it closes, could be a put spread for next week. For the weekend winner. TSM. This is a 30-minute low call spread. You had a bearish gap rolling over it, the rolling 20. That looks great. And the day trade short, 30-minute low. Cat, I read they're taking a half of $1 billion hit because of tariffs they announced. So that looks like but for this gap, that's bullish daily weekly. But let's this could be a 0 DTE call spread. That's Kyiv. That's Kyiv Ukraine company. It's a very sloppy buy setup. And the only reason I'm looking at this is their CEO was on TV, and they said that they would be ringing the opening bell today. But it is optionable, so I'll keep an eye on it. There's COP on my long list. PGY, nice closing breakout yesterday. That's a little inverse head and shoulder, left shoulder head, right shoulder void. Now, Fizzler was on my long list right here. But it's attempting to rebuild. SFNC, a little bull rectangle. Poet, bottoming pattern. I'm going to set an alarm at 580. Wow, look at IWM ripping right now. I just glanced at my other computer. Look at this bar pre-market. Oh. XMTR. And it's a closing breakout. We'll see what today does. Pen, bull rectangle, closing breakout. CDNS. It needs a few more days at resistance here, but I like this turn. I like the weekly buy setup. Expedia, we talked about. INVZ. I have an alarm at 173. TTD. Trying to put in a bottom. I sold puts on that yesterday myself. Arrow, we're long, closing breakout. You can add, it looks great. Did I should puts on this too? Now Q's back to the low. I've seen NVIDIA week. NVIDIA at 0 DTE call spread. Arrow does not have any weeklies, but so now we have 3 weeks for September expiration. But the $20 puts are bid 30 cents. Not bad. You just got to decide if you like selling them. All right, Expedia. I had a low alarm go off pre-market. But we'll see. This is what we call an end of day rally. So it has room to come in a controlled manner, particularly with Q's new low, but I'm not going to rush into it. Soon, let's do, just because the Q's are weak, let's wait 5-minute high on soon. Oh, I gave it actually buying call option, so it's not going to get filled unless it pulls back. So we might have to pay up a little bit more. All right, now I got a couple of alarms going off here. Ava. All right, that's trail stopping out. CBX alarm is oil. It's an early alarm. Hey, CBX looks great. Maybe 30-minute high. TV. It's fine. I got a tight stop in here. And I think we only have a third left, so I'll leave it alone. Deck. Wow, deck up alarm. Let's now move stop here. 117.18. This and win have been so easy to manage. That TSM, if somebody wants to check call spread, I see it falling. The video week, semis week, we can look for call spreads there. A lot of alarms going off here.
Why don't you do your SMH?
Sure. Yeah, zero DT, a no-brainer, but you want to do it for next week? But
I don't know, premium strikes, you know.
right, I'm just talking confidence in the pattern is all really. All right, 300s for today, 11 cents. So no. But NVIDIA should have more juice than that. Let me try 182.50s. Just because beta, right? And I'm wrong, only 8 cents. Less than SMH, man. So unless we went out to next week, win. Look at this thing, man. I'm not in it. Amazing. 124. I don't even feel like giving that up. Let's move stop days low. We only have a third. About 125.88. G alarm. Oh, that was a core trade. It bobbled around all week. It's triggering. Look at that. It's an ascending triangle here. Said G looks great. Let me check put spread too. That's a directional. I would do the 30s for next week. 8 cents by 29. Nothing. Crazy. Fizzler alarm. It's not ready, but on the list. INVZ. All right, so that hit my 170 5 alarm. Not ready, but on the list. Here. Pelletier dig trade. I don't like this pattern at all. You had a breakout failure. It's tight. I don't like the 15, so that means. All right, see how soon got rejected. So I said wait 5-minute high. So that would be 12.84. Givo. Trail stomping out. Up alarm. Greg, I couldn't tell if you're bullish or not on oil. Then what do you think of COP and CVX? CVX I like a tad better. You want to buy the high of that?